I like you in your pajamas, without your manners, just like you do. I like you late in the evening, always receiving more drinks than two. La 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 la.
Hello, gorgeous people. We have got a full house tonight, and it's getting fuller. It's so nice to see you all. You all look amazing as usual. It's nice to see you all here tonight. We have got the unbelievable, amazing, and brilliant Andi Arndt with us today. And I'm going to launch off the introduction section of this by saying that Andie is one of the last coaches I went to because I was a tiny bit scared. And that was because we all know Andie is basically kind of like romance royalty. And getting coaching with Andie is a big, big deal. And I felt, well, you know, I've done romance, I do romance, but eventually I was like, I have to get over myself. And I think it was Helen Lloyd talking about Andie. Helen was like, because I have slight challenges with scheduling and not thinking, I thought that I didn't personally need days off. And Helen Lloyd gave me a lecture and told me, you have to see Andi Arndt. And you were doing summer school coaching. And every single coaching call that Andie did, I walked away with the feeling of, oh, okay, I can start doing that. It will completely change the way I work as a narrator. And that's why it's amazing that we have Andie here today, because every time you meet her or see her, you go away and you change the entire trajectory of your career.
No pressure.
So I would like to, I'm wondering, have you always been, first a little bit about how you came into narrating. I'm sure everyone's heard it and everything. A little bit about you and how you came into narrating. And then also, have you always been this way, or did you pick up skills after faux pas?
Well, how I got into narration is I have a background in broadcasting and theater. And so to me, those things go together. I had the microphone skills from broadcasting and the performance skills from theater. And at first I was exploring the voiceover buffet of e-learning and corporate and how it works videos and a little bit of commercial. Took classes in coaching and documentary narration because I thought I love watching documentaries. Maybe I would like narrating them. But all along, whenever I would go to an event that was multi-genre and I would see something about audiobooks, I just knew that that's where I wanted to be, but I also knew that it was the hardest to get into. So I just tried every day to learn one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. And I finally figured out how to, I found the door in the silo. It was like, I felt like I was going around a silo looking for a door for
How long ago was this?
Oh gosh, the late 2000s.
And how long were you trying one more thing before something hit?
Couple years.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And were you making an active, today I've got to do something towards being a narrator?
I didn't have a list or anything, but I pay attention to my daydreaming. I pay attention to where my mind goes when it's not occupied with the have to do and it goes off into the want to do. And I just really paid attention to that little voice that says, you know, you love that, you know, you want to do that, you know, you can do that.
Right, see here, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
That's the first 5 minutes of the call, and you've already given me the thing that I'm going to go away and go, oh my God, pay attention to your daydreaming.
The thing that's interesting to me is that having dealt with people in theater for much of my life, healthy people and not healthy people, frankly, it's tricky because I want to say to people who are trying to find that door, for that way in, and the door keeps moving as the industry changes, I really want to say to these people, you know, it may be possible that right now you are the only person who knows that you're going to be an audiobook narrator. And you don't have any support, and you don't have any encouragement, and you don't know anyone who does it, and you are just kind of bumping around in the dark, but you know that this is what you want to do. But, you know, at the same time, I know that someone who's not suited for this work might hear that and feel like they have to keep going in that direction, and maybe it's not for them. However, they might find their way to something similar that is suited to them, right? But it's a strange thing, because for a while at the beginning of your career, you really might be the only person who knows that this is what you're going to do, and it's lonely.
Yeah, and you doubt yourself as well. But do you not think, because I know people say that, because I think I had a conversation with a coach once about what do you do when you're coaching somebody, and how do you tell them when there's just, it's just the road from here to where they need to get is too far, and you can't imagine it. What do you do? Because you can't like dash if it really is someone's dreams. But do you not think that, I always think eventually the main part of the game is holding on, and if they're not suited for it, they won't be able to hold on long enough.
Yeah, I guess an example that I can give you that's not from narration, but that still suits, is way back when I used to work as a volunteer for a Virginia Theater Association high school theater festival. And so I would judge like 21 high school theater one-act plays in a weekend. And
Wow.
I was fried by the end of the weekend, but it was also really exhilarating, because I spent the whole day critiquing performance, and you get really good at putting words to what it is that is there or not there, in terms of both technique and just discipline, performance discipline that students need. And as part of that, I would stage manage the auditions of high school seniors trying to get into college theater departments. And so again, I saw incredible performances, and a young actor would leave the room, and all of these reps from, you know, this is how I know Elizabeth Wiley, because at the time she was the rep for College of William and Mary. So I first got to know her from that role, and now she's a narrator years later. You know, the students would leave, and the college faculty would just be in awe, like, you know, if this person's SATs and grades are where they need to be, you know, yes, please come and study with us. But there would be some young actors who thought that acting is mimicry only. Mm-hmm. And so they would come in and basically regurgitate a memorized scene from The Simpsons and sound exactly like Bart, and the intonation was exactly like Bart, but there was nothing of themselves.
It was from the outside in.
It was completely just mimicry.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and it was also kind of like, where were they? They were not connecting to like where we all were and what we were doing. You know, so if a student like that would come up to me afterwards and say, how did I do? You know, I would have a discussion with them about, how are you finding your own voice and your own technique? What are the resources that you have?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying
that's all you can do.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't do this, but I'm saying job one is to figure out your voice, because you've brought someone else's voice into this room. And by the same token, if I talk with somebody who wants to be a narrator and I know that they cannot hear their regional accent, I know they can't feel it, I know they can't hear it, I know they can't adjust it, it means that all they can do then is books about that region or set with characters who are only from that region. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to be really hard for them to diversify and have a full-time career until they can feel and hear what they're doing. And I moved from Minnesota to New Jersey to Virginia to North Carolina. I've traveled, I've learned different languages. So I was able to hear my native accent from outside. And if you've always lived in the same place and you've never had to hear your accent from outside, you're at a disadvantage, I think.
And I think also I'm accepting the fact that part of it, for instance, the English accent, I've lived years, like 19 years, and followed people around the office imitating every word they said. Still, my English accent is one of my worst accents. I can do Scottish, but I think you have to have an ability. I know that they can teach you anything, but I do think some of it is an ingrained, like being a singer. You know, anyone can sing, but can anyone sing really well? Anyone can read, but can anyone narrate?
Yeah, and an analogy to that, I think, is I have friends who are professional musicians, and there is this sort of fantasy of like, I can sing, maybe they'll pull me up on stage and I'll sing and then I'll be discovered, right? And you realize that the people that open for them have been doing their own hustling and their own work and their own technique and their own networking. And the reason that a band is the opening band for a more popular band is because they're going to bring an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the hardest things to overcome as a new narrator is, what audience do you bring when nobody's heard you? And that's, you know, again, that's a time in your career when you just need faith that one foot in front of the other, I'm just going to keep doing this and keep paying attention to where the market seems to like me and where I like to be in the marketplace, and stay open to genres that you might not have pictured yourself narrating, so that you don't turn down opportunities.
So did you have to ever give yourself a pep talk to keep that faith in the beginning, or were you quite good at just being calm?
My first work in the audiobook industry was as a proof listener. And I spent about 2 years being a proof listener. So I listened to a lot of other narrators doing their work. That was interesting. That was a good learning experience. And I started to get work. And at first, you know, I had a dream of the kinds of books that I wanted to do. And the books that were coming my way felt like work. So it's that, like, what is it, 10,000 hours, the Malcolm Gladwell thing?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I just kind of put my head down and understood that in the same way that when I used to, you know, critique student plays, there's three different things. There's it's great. It's clearly not great in a way that's obvious and I can talk about it, or it's somewhere in the middle and I have to hear the difference between the script and the performance. I have to go, here's what the script offers and here's where the performance either misinterpreted or missed an opportunity, or the director glossed over something. And so we're not understanding things that I think were in the script, or it wasn't in the script and they made the best situation out of it. So there are books where it goes from, gosh, I love this and I know exactly how this works and I know how to do it and it fits me, to now I'm in problem solving. Like, why does this character do this? And can I, in the audio version, make up for stuff that's just tissue thin in the writing? And so I'll go to Goodreads sometimes and read bad reviews of a print version of a book. Because
really?
Absolutely.
Before deciding to take it on. Is that what you mean?
No, it's part of problem. I mean, maybe before, if I don't know the author and I haven't found other information, I don't trust the producer, I don't know the producer, then I'll go to Goodreads. But sometimes as part of prep, I'll go to Goodreads and look up, sometimes what people love about the book, but I'll look up people who hated the book. Maybe it's just not their kind of book, and you can tell by how they write the review that that's the deal. But sometimes they'll be like, this made no sense that all of a sudden it was just like insta love, or this made no sense that why does he hate her so badly, or why you know, why is this person a psycho or whatever. So if multiple people are saying they don't get something, then I have to look at the book and go, how can I, in the moment of that story, make it make sense?
Make the people come to life so that it overcomes the writing obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find that the longer you've been doing it, the more you're finding yourself doing work that you enjoy? That's
Absolutely.
less work? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this year in my bullet journal, I've been tracking my yeses and my nos.
You
And
mentioned that.
yeah,
On
I'm
email. I
trying
found it
to,
fascinating.
I'm trying to reward myself for every no.
No to
Because
projects or no to
no to
anything?
projects. No to
Yeah.
projects. So I'm at like a 5-to-1 ratio right now. This is a busy requesting time because everybody's like, oh yeah, the holidays are over and we're looking at the
Yeah.
first quarter of titles. So there's like batches of assignments being made. But yeah, I'm saying no like 5 times or every time I say yes in the last couple weeks.
So in your coaching experience, what do you find yourself telling people and feeling like they're not taking on board? What do you wish people would know if you could just plant it in their heads that you run into the most?
I think the thing that I notice the most is a sense of, you know, being in a rowboat at the mercy of the ocean, as opposed to like having an engine and some sails and actually determining a destination and heading that way. I think people know deep down what they want and where they're trying to go, and sometimes need strategy advice as far as how to tack in that direction. And sometimes just, it's like, you know, Dorothy was wearing the ruby slippers the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. No, you specialize in, I mean, because a lot of your coaching I've noticed is you've got structure, and you have life hacks and things that you do to keep that structure into. So do you have something that you actively do? Because my biggest challenge is, and I know so many people, their biggest challenge is, oh yeah, I forgot to remind you, sorry.
That's
The
okay.
biggest challenge is being blown off course by emotions. You're ready to follow your routine, and then some bad something shows up on social media, or something doesn't go the way you thought it would go, or just anything. And next thing you know, you're not in the mood. And I know what everyone says, well, meditate, but some of us just aren't meditators. Did you ever struggle with that? Is it just something that comes, it's in your nature to always follow the structure and not be derailed? Or do you have something you do to deal with being derailed by external things when you're trying to focus?
So I struggle with it every day,
Do you?
of course, because I'm a human.
You see, I
Right?
thought that some people were just naturally calm and balanced about it. So I
I am
guess
calm and
not.
I am calm and balanced. Yeah, I am.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm a human and I live in a family. And I just went through 4 years of an administration that made me hypervigilant. I became aware that the word check is my enemy. Check the news, check my email, check social media.
Mm.
It's, you know, I try to catch myself about to do something and stop and go, what are you doing? What do you need there? And just put that one intermediate question of like, why are you going to the New York Times right now during the workday? What do you need there right now that you couldn't look at noon?
So
And
kind of
very
like
often
the
it'll,
voice of a good parent in your head.
yeah. And also there is an app called Freedom that an author told me about that she uses to do blocks of writing, and she's gotten way more writing done after using that. So you install Freedom, and I paid like for a lifetime license, I think it's like $65 to own it forever. And you could just say, start a session, and you'd be like, I want 30 minutes. And if you try to multitask, and you can just decide what that means, you can leave your research sites available, but block email, block social media, block whatever you want. You can say, all right, I want a 30-minute block of free work time, focused work time. And then you can even go to the next level and say, and in that 30 minutes, I'm going to shoot for 20 finished minutes. Or I'm going to go for an hour and I'm going to shoot for 45 minutes, or whatever, whatever it is. And you start the session. And if you try to go to a page, an app, whatever, that's not on the okay list, this big green screen with a butterfly appears and says, you're free to get some work done.
Oh, wow. I like that.
So I have been using that. I also have, I'm a big fan of bullet journaling. And so I have a bullet journal, and I've figured out a really good weekly spread that I'm using this year. So Monday morning, I draw my weekly spread. It just looks like that.
Oh, I love that.
So I have a thing for each day, and then I have Saturday and Sunday. You see how Sunday is like off limits. And then this is for my narration. This is for my production company. This is for the new thing I'm going to talk about. And this is for my writing, because I'm doing some, not one, but 2 book projects right now.
So do you update that every day?
Yeah.
Because what you said about the last 4 years, it was odd. I had 2 extra hours today because for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to check the news. For like the last year and a half, at least, I've been checking the news obsessively, worried. Like,
right.
I'm not even in America.
What does that do? Right?
Yeah.
It does nothing. I mean, we can be informed, and when it's time to take action, we can make sure that we're taking informed action. Beyond that, it's just, I heard this term, attention residue. And it's what happens when we multitask. The thing that we switched from, our little bit of our attention is with the unfinished thing that we just switched from. Then we get into this thing, then our attention is led somewhere else, and we leave a little bit of residue with this unfinished thing. I think it's why it's so gratifying to check something off. So when you opened this subject and you were talking about, you sit down to work and you're derailed by an emotional state, and it means you should meditate, or it means that, whatever. I guess big picture wise, what I take from that is that people who are drawn to storytelling and acting are by nature much more emotional beings, much more likely to be heightened in their awareness of their emotional state, and at times at the mercy of it, but at least aware of it, but have trouble managing what that emotional state means for their focus.
Do you feel that way?
It depends on the day. And we have 2 daughters, and the older one, who just moved back to college a couple weeks ago, is much more emotionally, her emotional volume is louder, for lack of a better term. So I'm much more likely to be thrown off by something that she needs, because it's just much bigger.
Right.
Yeah. So boundaries are good, and practicing, saying, this is what I'm doing right now, and at this time we'll work on your need that you have. Obviously, if anybody has littler kids, that's not
gonna work.
Well, it's something that you learn together. They learn to trust that you really will keep your word, because you have to keep your word, and that in 30 minutes, mommy's going to make mac and cheese. And in 30 minutes, guess what? You better make mac and cheese, or it's not going to work the next time that you say, I need 30 minutes.
And keeping your word to yourself is all part of the same package, because they watch what you're doing.
Yes. Keeping word to yourself and keeping word to your spouse, or your partner, or whoever else you're, beholden to in your house. And understanding that that's for you too, that those relationships enrich you and refresh you so that when you come back into the booth or the office, you can sit down and do good focused work.
I love every single thing, the bullet journal, the way you organize things, the way you talk yourself through things when they arise, the way you said there was a silo and every day you were going to do something else. They're all small actions towards where you want to go, rather than from here to there tomorrow, right?
And then when it doesn't happen, you just go, well,
yeah,
I guess I failed.
Well, but I love that. And I think that must help you in long form narration immensely as well, because if you think about it, that's what we have to do, isn't it? You can't do the whole book in 1 minute. You have to go work through the characters, and I love that. I do. So do you get, when you're coaching, what made you decide to go into coaching?
Well, I resisted it for a long time because because I taught at James Madison University in their theater department. I taught acting and voice for the stage for 12 years. And I left teaching to when my narration work started to be steady enough that, I was getting tired of having to tell an increasingly large number of clients, well, I can record, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between this time and this time, but then I have office hours, and then I teach Tuesday, Thursday, and blah, 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 blah. It was just too cut up. And I was teaching people who were going off into the profession and being actors, and I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to stop being a teacher and indulge in just being an actor. And I also didn't feel like I had the authority in terms of experience in the industry to know what I was saying. It makes me sad when I see somebody do 2 audiobooks and then declare that they're now a coach. It does nobody any good. And so I resisted and resisted and resisted. And then I started to do I'd sit on a panel, or, I'd participate in APAC, or I'd do something in a small way. And then I started to get the feedback from colleagues that what I had to say was unique, not repeating what was already being said, and that what I was saying was helpful. And so I thought, well, why don't I quietly teach here and there, in a very limited way. So I did, and then that time filled up. So I made more time, and to this day, I just sent out I guess a couple Sundays ago, I sent out my first quarter availability, and it's not completely full, but it's about 80% full at this point. So that's good. And I love working one-on-one with narrators on business topics, self-management topics, and performance, but performance is a little trickier, I think, to do one-on-one over Zoom. I get antsy because when I used to teach, especially voice, I was able to be hands-on with, people have tension here or tension here, or I can't see their whole instrument.
Yeah, you can see Nicola Redmond when she does, because she did the voice stuff for me in the warm-up, and you could see her just wanted to reach in and just go, no, let's do it this way.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
And also, if your brain, the deal with that is, if your brain is not aware of where you're holding habitual tension, because that's the whole thing, is that you're not conscious of it. The easiest way to make someone aware of habitual tension is to touch the muscle that is tense. And their brain goes, oh, that muscle. Oh.
That's Alexander technique. They kind of do that same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what did you have struggles with? What did you have to overcome about yourself, or the biggest lesson you taught yourself, or the biggest thing that you know now that you might not have known when you started? Or the biggest change you've made?
Oh,
What,
performance-wise or business-wise or?
anything you want. What was your character's journey?
Ah, um, I think the hardest phase for me was, I mean, everybody gets the hustle phase, the I'm a newbie, I'm not supposed to know anything, I'm learning, I'm establishing myself, I'm open to all this information and all these people that we meet at APAC and things. I don't know who it was, but I have a vivid memory of being in the Chicago APAC, which was a few years back. And I think that was 2016 that we had the Chicago APAC. Anyway, I saw someone that I really wanted to work with, and I wanted to meet them. And I recognized that there they were across the giant convention hall. And I was just setting out to meet them. And a narrator that I didn't know, like, jumped in front of me, and her face went like this, and she went, "Andie!" And nobody knew who I was. I was used to like moving anonymously through environments and just kind of doing my thing. And suddenly somebody wanted to meet me, and I didn't exactly understand why. And I was really confused, and I started to have that experience. And so that was weird, because I felt like when you're new and you have all your friends who are new and you're all kind of figuring this out together, there's a great sense of being on a quest together, you know, and camaraderie. And as people get more accomplished and there are awards or honors or recognition of whatever kind in the industry, it can feel to me like danger. I can feel like I'm about to be separated from my community of colleagues in a way that that doesn't feel good to me. And so in 2017, I won the Audie Award for romance, and my pseudonym won the Audie Award for erotica the same year.
Congratulations to both of you.
Well, we're proud. And the next year was the Audible Hall of Fame thing. And there were, what, 20 of us, I think? So that happened. And I just really struggled wanting to like enjoy how proud I felt, because I did work really hard, but I was so aware that so did other people who had been in this longer than I was. And I was aware that there were some hard feelings around that.
Do you think there really were hard feelings around that?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I mean, so, nobody said anything. I mean, really?
Not. but you see how you feel like it. I was like, guys, I'm still me. Don't do that. You know, don't put me over there or up there or down there or what. Like, I'm still here. And so I just worked really hard to like re-cement all of those relationships, and things settled down, and things, you know, are now I feel comfortable in a leadership position in the industry and speaking from that point of view and feeling like I can be of service and help. Right. But that was the hardest phase for me, was just that year and a half or so that just really felt like, come on, guys, like, you know, we're friends, we're colleagues, we're, you know, it's really.
But it's the old thing they say, that if people say somebody loses a lot of weight, their family or people that they were in relationships before will get mad at them, will try to feed them, will be like negative and try to pull them down. And it's, what is that, the thing with the dandelions or the crabs in a pot? And if one tries to get out, the rest of them will pull them back in. They don't know they're doing it,
the way that I think of it is, I'm from, the Midwest, and not too many generations back, my family were in like farmers, right? And farming communities, like the one that my mom's side of the family lived in for a couple generations, you know, your barn might be knocked down by a tornado, so you better not be going thinking that you're all that, because you might need everybody else's help.
Mm.
You don't want to alienate your community, so you need to be in the choir and not be a soloist. And so I picture this choir, and this soloist starts like almost levitating, and it's like the rest of the choir grabs their robe and goes, nope, you stay down here with us. Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's the other side of the coin, because I've always been a soloist. I've never been in the choir. I always say I always say the unpopular thing and wear the outfit that like they don't like. So so I spent years in corporate jobs trying to not make anyone uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
trying to be part of the tribe, because you've got to be part of the tribe to survive. And they ate me alive anyway, because I wasn't very good at being part of the tribe. You know what I mean? I wasn't being myself until I started burlesque, and then I got along just fine because we were all freaks.
You might as well just be yourself.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more you realize that a lot of the negative behaviors that come at you as a human being are rooted in someone else's pain.
Yeah.
And so that's theirs to deal with.
And also you got strong, and you said that you own your place as a leader in the industry. You're comfortable with that now. I bet you don't even notice the other stuff so much anymore, huh? Because it's not part of your.
Yeah, I think that there's like a stasis,
Yeah.
like there's a new equilibrium.
I love that. Okay, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Nancy would like to know, what is the most difficult book genre for you personally?
Difficult book genre. I
Book
guess the most
slash genre.
I know that this is some people's absolute favorite thing to do, but things that take place in completely created worlds, like fantasy, sci-fi. I got to do a great sci-fi short story for a collection recently. So it was a world that was very close. It was like in the near future, so it was still a very familiar world. And I could see how it was related and everything. But boy, worlds that are completely created out of nothing. Some people love the freedom to do anything. That's too much freedom for me. I like to go research a time and a place, and words and definitions, and give me something to tether to. So I don't
do you
do a
like
lot.
historical books then?
Yeah, I just finished one that's about the women who flew for Pan Am in the 60s.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, I wish I could have done that book. Oh,
See?
that's gorgeous.
When that came my way, it was my mom's sister was a career flight attendant, and she and I have had the most wonderful conversations. I've learned things about her that I never knew. And it was fantastic. So
I wanted to be one of those women. I'd see them in the airport. We went to Italy every summer when I was growing up, and we'd be in the airport, and they'd walk with the pilot in front of them, and they were so glamorous and perfect. I've got to listen to that when it's out. When's it out?
March 2nd, I think. No, that's not true.
So jealous. I'm one of those
Probably
people
March.
now that's jealous of you.
I was jealous of me. Like I actually moved something out of the way to make room for that, because I was just like, I have to do this book. So I asked an author if she would accept recasting of a different book because I do all her books.
Yeah.
And I said, would it be okay if just this one time this other equally amazing, awesome woman did this book, please? And she said yes. And so I was like, okay, yes, I can do this book without killing myself.
Did you find, I can't describe, I don't know how to describe this, but when you get a book that's that delicious, like in a time period you're really interested in, Do you find that like your whole life, like that week, you feel kind of like you're a little more glamorous, or like it comes off and out on your life, like when you're doing a book that amazing? Do
I
you
think
find
my husband probably got tired of hearing about all the lawsuits because, you know, being a career woman in the 1960s, there was a case of a black flight attendant. They were called stewardesses, of course, back then, suing for discrimination because other people were getting promoted and she was not getting promoted, and she had evidence that it was due to racial discrimination. And the airline's response was that the fact that she was suing them was proof that she was probably too confrontational to deal well with passengers. And I was like, and so I told my aunt that, and I told my aunt that, and she said, yeah, that sounds like a typical argument from the airlines.
Yeah, I went to a seminar because I wanted to be a stewardess so badly. And then they talked about the weight requirements, and I went home
and you can't get pregnant, and you can't get married,
yeah.
and you can't be over 32 years old. And, you know, if you did gain too much weight and you got weighed in, you had to report back in monthly. And as long as you lost 2 pounds a month, it was okay.
What? Did the woman win her suit?
Yes, she did.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so gonna listen to that. That's brilliant. That's
so it wasn't that I felt all stylish. I felt like, you know.
And the thing is, do you not find that you get a book like that and you thoroughly enjoy it, and you think there might not be any more surprises because now you've done, you know, the stuff you want, and then like along comes another book and you're like, I didn't even know something that cool existed. I love that about this job.
Always another book. There's always another cool book.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So what's your very favorite thing to do? What's your favorite part of the job? I mean, even if it's the coffee you have before you go in the booth, what's like the little delicious things that make you enjoy being a narrator that you would miss if you had to quit?
Oh, the story and getting into the flow of a scene that is beautifully written, and like having emotional states well up authentically that I don't have to, you know, drum up. Just having an authentic response and being able to walk that tightrope of staying in that emotional response, but still being understandable and intelligible. That's a gift. It's like a butterfly landing on your shoulder and staying there for a while, you know, to have an actual moment of, you know, tears or laughter or surprise or, you know, it's wonderful.
I love that. Okay, question from Rebecca. I recently listened to Heidi's Guide and loved it. Do you have any plans to engage in more writing? I think you said you have 2 projects going on right now.
Sun's not down yet. There we go. That's so crazy. Sorry, I'm obsessive about the light thing. Yeah, so I actually was signed by an author agent.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so that was the easy part. Like easy.
But I hear that's not easy. That was really hard, isn't it?
No, but I was approached by the agent of an author that I narrate for, and I talked to this agent about the audiobook industry and my perspective as a producer and blah 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 blah. And so after Julia Whalen's My Oxford Year came out and did so well, this agent contacted me and said, you know, you're a narrator and you can write, and would you have any interest in writing a book? And I was like, my rule in life is like, when someone comes to you and says, would you do XYZ? Like, but way back when I was just directing community theater and the university said, we need someone to teach a section of basic acting, you know, here at JMU, like, could you do that? My first thought was like, I couldn't do that. You know, that would be too much fun and too cool. But then it was like, well, they called me, you know, they must think that I could. So I guess I'll try it. And then if I suck, they won't ask me to do it again. but at least I'll try it, you
If you
know.
have
And
to
so,
choose between no and yes, always choose yes.
I know. So, well, yeah. So,
Even if you
so,
regret it, because
you
no
know,
is the end of the
hey, can you fly this
conversation.
plane? No, I can't fly this plane. All these people. But yeah, I said, well, yeah, I'd be open to talking about it. So, so now I'm in that weird, like, you know, finally settled on some material that I'm going to be working through. And just today, actually, I sent the synopsis
Wait,
sketch.
Andy,
Yeah,
hold on a second. Are you there?
I'm here.
My screen went completely black
Oh,
for the last 2
I'm
minutes.
so sorry.
I hope the recording didn't go black. But
No, we're good.
so you said
I just this morning sent the sketch of what how I think it's going to go to the agent. So we'll see
I
what
love
she says.
that. Oh, fingers crossed. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then pretty soon you can just write all your own favorite books and narrate them and
Well,
produce them.
it'll take a long time. I'd rather just narrate other people's writing. I think writing is, you know, the authors are always like, gosh, I could never do what you do. And I sit there going, it's hard to do what you do too. So.
And that is a hard thing, because I had to have the conversation. When you have the conversation with the writer at the 15-minute sample, I'm always over specific about acting notes, because I really want them to understand that this is it right now, and the voice you hear in your head, you got to like kind of let go a little bit at this point. And but it's so hard to, I mean, I'm good now. I know how to word it. I've been through it a million times, but it is always a very careful conversation, because you're not telling them that you're not valuing their baby, that they've sweated and put blood into and like died over every single word. But you know what I mean? You are kind of taking their baby away from them. You're going to do the best you can, but you can't be them.
Yeah, I mean, but playwrights, you know, are not always welcome in the house in during rehearsal, because they just get in the way. If the director has a question for the playwright, they can contact them over here and figure out how to make that happen. But it's two different art forms.
Oh my God, I was in a play with a very, like, over here famous director, and the playwright came from America in the audience and kept telling us to do things the exact opposite way the director had been telling us to do for 3 weeks.
Not okay.
Yeah,
Not
it was a bit of a shock.
Yep.
Okay, we have a question for you from Sarah Nessel. Question: what was the biggest challenge you faced in terms of narration-specific performance skills when you first began narrating, or did the performance just flow well from the start, thanks to your background?
Yeah, making that adjustment to narration from other kinds of voiceover and from theater and from you know, broadcasting and stuff. Learning how to differentiate voices was something that is now muscle memory in a way. Shifting from voice to voice is something that happens just really easily for me. But at first, I think I had a lot of bleed from one voice to another, or it felt more different than it sounded. And I would go and listen back and I'd be like, those sound like the same people. Or, you know, somebody thinks that because you can do Southern, that you can do British, and then you wander all over the British Isles and come back by way of, you know, Cuba, and then you're like, what's my name? Yeah, trying to differentiate not only voices from one another, but I'm a stickler for differentiating the storytelling, the narration from the dialogue, because sometimes we need to know that someone is speaking, especially if their internal voice is just talking to themselves. It's got to be clear to the listener that the other person in that scene could not hear that.
Yeah. Very good point. Okay, so I have another question. Kat wants to know, Andie, do you like full cast narration or duets? Or duets? I guess it's a both, either question.
I mean, the full cast narrations that I've gotten to do where I travel to New York or travel to LA, and it's like a big party with an audiobook going on in the midst of it, is like a dream. And the author that I've produced those for, Lauren Blakely, says that I am the best at making the character spreadsheets that show like this person's in this scene and this person's in this scene, and here's the 3 people who need to be here between 1 and 2 o'clock, and here, and then this person can go have a break, and then I need this person, we're gonna do all these scenes.
I can see you being good at that.
Yeah, she's like, you are the spreadsheet queen, and so I love that.
Okay, so I promised I'd leave you a little time because you've got exciting stuff coming up, and I've seen emails and everything, but things that are new are sometimes harder to understand. So if you talk to a person, they can explain it. So what's going on, Andie?
What's going on? Well, during the last year, I was looking at my notes from coaching and realizing that there were a whole lot of times when I said the exact same thing to different people. And once that starts happening, then to me, that's an indication that that can be packaged into a self-study course. But if I do it right, somebody should be able to, on their own time, at their own pace, take in that content. And then when we do work together one-on-one, they know all that, I know they know it, and we can go to the next thing that's probably going to be more specific to their situation and their like higher level questions. So I started looking at that. Then I started looking at, okay, how do you do that? Offer a course, you know, prepackaged. And I went down a major rabbit hole. So every time I walk the dog, I'm listening to podcasts about courses, and every free moment, I literally took a course about adult learners taking online courses. It was so meta. It was meta. So then I'm, doing.
Was it worthwhile, the course?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it?
Absolutely. It was fascinating. So, I was telling you about my older daughter who, is just more like expressive, shall we say.
Yes.
Just the other day, she said, God, Mom, you always complicate things. And it's true. I could have just packaged my own little thing and thrown it up there and gone on with my life. But I was like, there have to be other coaches that are like trying to figure this out right now. So I reached out to 8 coaches whose work I respect, who are also represent diverse perspectives in our industry in terms of their personal background, their approach as a coach, but almost all of them also teach at the university level, as I did. So I think that lends some credibility to their work as a teacher. And to a person, the people I contacted either said, yes, sign me up, like, how do we do this? Or, I love this idea. I need to get back to you because like someone else has just asked me to do the same thing. So we have a website. It's called narrator.life, because the .coms and the .biz and the .whatever, now you can have .life. And I thought, well, there's already like hashtag narrator life. So let's just own it and have narrator.life.
I want www.danielaacitelli.life. Can we do that?
You could do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so where we're at with it right now is we are furiously working behind, like right before I got on this call, I just wrote some of the content for the site, because you're going to be able to go there and take a quiz that places you at a particular level of coaching, which is really cool, so that you know that you're taking courses that are right where you're at where you're trying to
So
go.
it's going to be like an online university.
Yeah, like Vikas Adam is one of the coaches that I'm working with, and he said, oh, it's like masterclass for narrators. And I was like,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So you buy like a package and you get all the coaches information, or?
So I don't feel comfortable doing the package this year because I want way more content so that the package is a no-brainer. So this year, I'm starting, I'm the guinea pig. So my courses will go live, and I will be intensely involved in, like, someone goes and takes a course and they wish that it addressed this, or they didn't, they need help figuring this out with the technical platform. We've got back-end tech development, but we know we're going to need like a user experience, someone to call, because I don't want to be narrating a book and have somebody be like,
Right.
hey, my login's not working. That's not. So we're going to need to staff up in that way, because those things always happen. When I took the course, I needed to have my login reset, and it wasn't the person who was teaching the course who gave me my new login. So
is it open? Do you have already the website open? I can link it to the video on YouTube.
Yes, in the sense that right now when you go there, it's a coming soon gorgeous page that the tech guy designed that allows you to sign up for the email list.
Okay, we'll put that on the page as well. So you said you're the guinea pig, so is it only going to be your classes at the moment?
Let's see, my classes are going to go live, and then Ann Richardson has, not so much for people on this call necessarily, but Ann Richardson has a 2-video and downloadable resource series that is basically like from square one, like, what are things that I need to consider before jumping into this line of work?
We have some people that will be seeing this call that are at that point. We've got a lot of people in Joe that are just starting.
Okay, well, the good thing is that introductory exploratory material is going to be free.
Okay.
Because I really don't want to take people's money when they're still kicking the tires and trying to figure out, is this really for me?
Yeah.
So there's going to be some exploratory entry-level information, and then you'd have an opportunity to take, introductory courses. So we're going to have a startup course that's all about getting your home studio up and running and things you need to know to do that.
Okay.
We have a level of courses called Chapter 1 that's all about, okay, you got a job now. How does the workflow go? What do you need to know about the industry and the conventions and the etiquette and the expectations of that very, very beginning stage? Then the bulk of the courses, I think, are going to fall into an area called the first 100. So basically the first 100 books. And that during that stage of your career, you are learning so much. It's just like, give me all the information. So, Ronnie Butler is going to be one of our coaches, and he has taught, social media, how to approach social media like a boss, and deep into technique. January Lavoie is teaching this spring at Emory University in Atlanta, so she can't do anything until the summer, but she is super excited about offering a deep technique class in the middle part of the year. There's going to
be some good stuff.
Oh, to me, it's like I'm excited to take the classes that are going to be.
So I'm going to get you. So reach out. I can't send you an invitation because I don't get you up on Cup of Joe. But maybe send an invitation. Send a request for Cup of Joe. I'll put you in, and then when this course launches, you can post about it on the page.
Yeah. I actually accepted your friend request.
Oh, okay. So then I'll send you an invitation tonight.
Yeah.
And then just remember when it launches, don't forget us. You'll have eager customers. So yeah, I think because I was realizing, I was looking back today at this last year. Well, okay, mostly because it was tax time and almost had a stroke. But it all went to like coaching and Zoom, and I reached out to a fellow narrator and they said the same thing. And I think we've all been doing that this year, which I love about narrators, that not one narrator I know has been sitting around going, ooh, quarantine. They've all been like, okay, I'm going to go to this coach and that coach and this coach, and I'm going to upgrade my equipment. I mean, I bet most narrators are 1,000 degrees different than we were last year. I don't think that many industries that people can say they've changed that much in a year, what we've put into our development in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, so many people have come into the industry as well, that I think that there's a tremendous pressure to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Because if you're not getting stronger at your craft and attending to the relationships that you're building, you're going to be, there's a feeling of like you're going to get passed up by somebody else who's come in more recently. So,
and I remind myself, because there is that feeling that there are so many people and a lot of new people, I was made redundant 6 months ago and I thought I'd give, a shot at narrating. And the thing is, I tell myself, the fact that new people come in means that I'm not a new person. If nobody new ever came in, then I'd always stay at the bottom. So the more new people that come in, the higher everyone else goes up, and the ones that'll stick to it will be there forever. And you're either a narrator or you fall off. And the ones that are going to be there, they're going to put the work in and they're going to be there forever.
I mean, that's not really been my experience exactly, because most working narrators that I know, they work as much in audiobooks as they want to now that they have those established relationships. But like Emily Wu Zeller is going to be teaching through Narrator.life, and she has a robust career as an animation voice.
That's true.
And she's also a dancer, and she's also a singer. And Matt Lloyd Davis is going to be teaching, but he's a professionally trained theater director. And
so you're saying that they're not all encompassed. It's not just narration. They're doing other things as well. And
yeah, I think we are all, those of us I know who are firmly established and working as much as they want, are creative entrepreneurs. And what that means is that their brain seeks stimulation, invigoration, new horizons, new things, new challenges to tackle, problems to solve. And so, like several months ago, I could have just said, hey, I'm just going to narrate, from this time to this time and then go make dinner. But there's something in my brain that is like, free time. We're going to get interested. Now we're going to write 2 books and start a new website and start a new business. Just like,
I love that. But that still goes back to the same old point, because a lot of people are intimidated by the sheer number of people breaking into it. If you know what I mean, the like bottom field is exponentially blown up. But still, it goes back to what you're saying. If you're that personality, you're going to keep going. But if you're not that personality, how are you going to survive with a big exploding field full of people that are saying what's next, and constantly improving and constantly taking things on? The numbers will take care of themselves eventually.
Yeah, it really rewards curiosity. That's what it comes down to me, is you've got to have you've got to have that innate curiosity about people and words and industries and business and problem solving.
Business, I know.
I am such a business geek now, and I never thought of myself as somebody who would enjoy learning anything about business, like my dad was an insurance guy, and I used to just be like, that sounds like death,
Yeah. So you learned to like it.
Well, I like it when it means something to me. Like my bookkeeping reports mean something to me, so I care about them.
Yeah. Yes, and I shall learn to be that way about taxes. All the good stuff. And now you're a spreadsheet geek. But yes. And I love the bullet journal too. I love the bullet journal, but I work on Excel. So I have a hard time not putting everything on Excel.
Can I tell you, this year I even bought the bullet journal method, the whole book.
I didn't even know such a thing existed.
I realized that my bullet journal had devolved into a glorified to-do list, and that's why it was not helpful anymore. And so I read this and I was like, right, okay, I got it.
Do they have an audiobook?
Maybe, but I got a bright pink one, very, not a great
Very
color.
cool.
So it's very energizing, and I take it downstairs with my morning coffee, and I kind of get my head in like, what do I need to do today? What are my appointments? How much of this book do I need to get done? And then I've got my closing rituals. So at the end of the day, like, how much did I do? What other things did I do? Like, log it and shut the book, shut the microphone, shut the door. I'm out of here.
I love that. I genuinely love that. Okay, again, and as I said, you gave me enough in the first 5 minutes to have me off with a million ideas. Especially, I took a class with you recently, and there's some gems every time I see you. The one was recently, there was a program I want to sign up for where you can see if your emails have been read. Oh my God, priceless when you're sending out cold contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Downloadable demos on your website. Oh my God, so many people have complimented me, producers, publishers, because my books are easily downloadable, my samples. A la Andi Arndt.
Yeah, I'm offering Practice Your Pitch again before the March speed dating. So
I loved Practice Your Pitch. I have to say, everyone had told me everything they knew about speed dating, and I thought, I've paid for it. I should go anyway. I probably won't learn anything new. I'm being honest. And I went and I learned everything. I loved. It's quite dramatic. I think I'm more like your older daughter.
And yet she has zero interest in theater.
Really?
Wasted emotional energy.
She'll probably end up being an audiobook narrator.
Mm-mm.
No?
You know how kids are. They don't want to have anything to do with what you do.
Yeah, that's actually quite true, which is why you're not an insurance salesman.
I did work in it. I worked at an insurance company for 2.5 years to put myself through grad school.
Did you really? See?
Yep.
She could still be a narrator.
And I learned how to use spreadsheets. So see, no opportunity is ever wasted.
Yeah, no, I love the spreadsheet thing. I remember when I was, those tax books that you get with the lines. Yeah. When I was 8, I was drawing spreadsheet schedules in 15-minute increments. And I've had one every single day since then. I love spreadsheets. Life should be on a spreadsheet. So now that we've sorted out the entire world, thank you for your time, Andi. This has been amazing. You are amazing.
Well, gosh, I appreciate being asked, and this time has flown. So thank you for asking me, and ask me anytime.
Oh, I almost forgot. Real quick, 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
For your YouTube audience that's going to be watching this 30 years from now, what's your final word of wisdom for them?
Oh gosh, I think 2 words: pay attention.
Good one. Very good one. We will leave you with that. Thanks, Andi. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. You've all been stars as well. Thanks so much, Andi.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care. Bye.